Here we go. Um, Hi everyone. The other folks are still signing in. Welcome to the Wednesday edition. I thought I'd kick today off with a quote from one of my favorite teachers, Eckhart Tolle. And he had this realization one day when he was sitting on a park bench feeling extremely depressed. He said, "When I realized that my inner dialogue was essentially that I can no longer live with myself, I realized that there must be two selves, the I and the self that I couldn't live with." And this week's theme has been the inner critic, and I think this encapsulates that really well. So this notion that when we really start paying attention and start uh, really working on our mindfulness practice and really start paying attention to the quality or the nature of the inner dialogue, we do in fact realize that there is this I that is bearing witness to this inner dialogue that's going on. So there is a sort of back and forth, but they are very distinct. If we really pay close attention, there's and I would call maybe the distinction here is consciousness and ego. So consciousness is that bigger sense of I. There's a sort of a timelessness to it, and it's not personal. And then there's the ego or the smaller sense of self where everything feels very, very personal. And so this idea of like I can no longer live with myself becomes a really poignant like reminder of the difference there. So why bring that up? Well, I think compassion, which is the practice that I wanted to do today, the definition of compassion that I would use here is our ability to recognize suffering and to cultivate our heartfelt desire to alleviate that suffering. So it's pretty simple. And then self-compassion, sitting on top of Eckhart Tolle's definition here is our ability to recognize suffering within our quote unquote selves. So that's small egoic self, and to cultivate our heartfelt desire to alleviate that suffering again within ourselves. So it's the I that is able to recognize suffering in that egoic narrative, that negativity that arises. And then it's the I that has the ability to cultivate this heartfelt desire to alleviate that suffering. So again, easier said than done, but like all of these things that we do here, it's really just about practice and just, continuously leaning into it. So I thought today we'd do a practice where we'll activate compassion, or that felt sense of recognizing suffering in others and connecting with that heartfelt desire to alleviate that suffering, and then see to what extent we can turn that back on our quote unquote self. So let's see how that goes. So let's start by closing our eyes as usual. Just dropping into some mindful awareness of what is right now. So noticing the body and space and time. Body's breathing. The heart is beating. Brain is thinking. And see if just for a moment you can reorient your relationship to the mind. So thoughts, memories, in the same way that you might be thinking about your liver or your kidneys right now. Right? We view our liver and our kidneys as just they're performing these miraculous functions all on their own. It has nothing to do with me. I'm not doing anything to make the kidneys or liver do what they do. Nor do I control what the brain does or what the mind thinks or believes. So it's just taking a step back, just noticing. And the part of us that can notice is this I, this sense of consciousness. And it's not personal. It's just observing, witnessing all the comings and goings of sensations and thoughts, and bring to mind someone that you love, someone you really care about. And bring to mind a moment that you witnessed where they were struggling, where they were suffering, and really feel into that memory. And just bearing witness to what was happening to them. And feeling into the part of you wants to alleviate that suffering, has the ability to bear witness, to be with their pain, their struggle. It's usually not much we can do other than just be there and hold space, stay firm. And notice where in your body you feel that sense of compassion, that heartfelt desire to alleviate their suffering. Where does that live inside of you? And while holding on to that sensation, bring to mind a time when when the self was suffering, time that you were struggling. Maybe you are struggling right now. And see if you can lean into that same sensation, that heartfelt desire for the I to alleviate the suffering of the self, just bearing witness. It's really no different than feeling compassion for a loved one or a close friend, turning that sense of compassion towards this very familiar sense of self. And if trying to stay connected to self becomes difficult, if your mind starts wandering or you notice some resistance, go back to a friend or a loved one and just reconnect. Use that experience, that sense of compassion as as a way to reconnect with the experience of compassion. And then when you're ready, then reorient your attention back to the experience of either a memory or the current present moment, or self is struggling or suffering. In a way, we then start realizing that there's no there's no you, there's no other. It's all compassion, whether it's for quote unquote self or others. It's all the same thing. Again, if at any point that becomes difficult or the mind gets distracted, you can just go right back to an, someone that for whom it's easy to feel compassion. And then let's go ahead and take a deep breath in. Long exhale through the mouth. All the air out. And then hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Another deep inhale through the nose. Long exhale through the mouth. And then hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then go ahead and open your eyes. Come on back to the session. Um, yeah, hope that was helpful. I think again, compassion, those practices that we can just do over and over again. Thank you, Monica. I'll stick around for another few minutes if anyone wants to connect. Otherwise, I hope to see you tomorrow for a gratitude practice. Take care, everyone. Have a good day.